Friends, welcome to this program on satellite and education. This program is based on the master's program, Masters in Distance Education, course 418 on communication in distance education. What we will basically do within this short program is to talk about satellite, the way satellite operates, and how satellite and education has been applied, especially in the context of education and more so in distance education in this country, India. We will also talk about some of the issues that are concerned with satellite and education and the latest status that teleconferencing based education has in this country vis-a-vis the new developments and the National Policy on Education 2020. So friends, this is what you see the developments in information and communication technology in this country. We started with audiovisual aids. As you know, the audiovisual movement contributed significantly vis-a-vis the program learning movement. The PLM materials were developed, teaching machines came to the classroom, and so on and so forth. But audiovisual materials and audiovisual aids have still remained, including blackboard and chalk and duster. They still remain as instrumentalities for a teacher to do within the classroom, especially, which is translated if it is in a multiple media or multimedia based education or online education into what is called a whiteboard or an electronic board. So which does the same function as the teacher does with chalkboard, duster and blackboard, and chalk, duster and blackboard, and much more functions are added to electronically to the whiteboard or electronic board, or they call it a smart classroom, for instance. So these developments started with audiovisual aids. We had television, even the Gyan Darshan continues today with IGNOU, with an uplink facility today available. Many other institutions which are using the satellite, they have their own uplinking facilities today, though initially they were channeling their programs through the IGNOU extended C-band that we had on the campus. The Eclipse channel, which is a technical channel, and the BAS channel is the higher education channel, which is generally used by the Consortium for Educational Communication of the University Grants Commission, which is called Countrywide Classroom, and which is also a syllabus-based program of varieties of disciplines. We also went through the process of interactive multimedia for quite some time, for almost a decade, especially in school education, so also in higher education. Interactive multimedia combines all the possible media together where teacher is built in: print, audio, video, graphics, animation, data. All these form part of the computer-based multimedia called multimedia. Otherwise, if they are isolated and separate, independent of each other, they would be called as multiple media. So multiple media had three types of applications in education, especially in distance education: supplementary, complementary, and integrated. Supplementary still continues. Sometimes we have complementary, but integrated across the web-based education, online education is possible today, and which is happening. But insofar as traditional media is concerned, hardly we have any integration. They are isolated from each other, and one can combine judiciously from a pedagogic point of view, which is generally supplementary, but sometimes it is complementary. We had the educational satellite, we talk about that, which facilitated us to have teleconferencing facilities, audio conferencing, video conferencing, and computer conferencing. We have at IGNOU the Gyan course, which is the largest national resource repository of print, audio, video programs available to people free of cost, and one can register and download these resources. This is the largest national repository vis-a-vis the InflibNet, which is with the University Grants Commission. This country also started with online programs, and at IGNOU we had almost 42 online programs, 24 were finally offered, and after the UGC regulation of distance and online learning, the online programs were discontinued. As I understand, the 2020 regulation of UGC for combining distance learning and online learning, they are now being offered from 2020, and especially from 2021, for which the presentations are going on at UGC for the selection of dual mode universities and open universities for the offer of distance learning and online programs. We started with an interactive web-based platform called Sakshat, which IGNOU developed and which the erstwhile Minister of HRD took it off as the national platform. And Sakshat today in a different form, a MOOC-based program called SWAYAM. And we will not discuss SWAYAM in detail, but the SWAYAM, which is offering for the first time as the national platform for almost all disciplines, contributed by IIT and NPTEL and many others, including IGNOU. And IGNOU is the coordinator for the certificate and diploma programs in the country. And SWAYAMPrabha channels are also there. We will briefly talk about that. SWAYAM platform is a web-based platform, but the SWAYAMPrabha is a conferencing-based or broadcasting platform of the television platform, which is done through, in the last point that I have listed, through the KU band, 32 television channels, besides the 6 television channels that IGNOU and many others had. And these are in addition to the established 6 channels. And those channels, they were basically C-band or extended C-band of a high quality digital. But the SWAYAMPrabha channels are generally offered through KU band, which lessens the bandwidth needed for telecast of programs and receiving of programs, but which are also having larger coverage than the C-band because it will need less bandwidth. Of course, there is a little sacrifice of the quality of the transmission, of the digitalization of the visuals and the interaction and presentations that are possible. In between, the Central University, Tribal Central University developed an MOD framework, which was basically a mobile-based national teaching learning platform. Vis-a-vis, I should also mention here the Gyandhara and Vidyadhara platform that IGNOU developed, a wiki-based platform which is still existing but which is of less use today, which was a wiki-based national platform for offer of distance and online learning programs. So friends, because this program is about satellite, we will focus more on satellite and teleconferencing rather than different other media. So what is a satellite? A satellite is basically a spacecraft which is launched for receiving signals from the transmitter, and it amplifies the signals and changes their frequencies automatically, and it retransmits the amplified signals to the Earth. So from Earth it gets transmitted to the satellite, satellite retransmits to the Earth back, and there can be different transponders which can carry these channels, which is called terrestrial transmission. But if it is done to direct home, for instance, that one can have, and various television service providers today, including Tata Sky and many others, including Uttar Pradesh government, which made compulsory for almost all television channels to provide these Gyandarshan channels free of cost to the people. That will be called satellite transmission. Basically, distinction is between terrestrial and satellite. 1957, actually the space age started in this world with the erstwhile USSR developing the Sputnik satellite and putting to the space. And Russia was the first country that followed with many developments, especially the American satellite, which the Indian government borrowed for satellite experimentation in the country. Satellites facilitate telecommunications. As you know, the 3 developments in technology which can be summed up today is: one is broadcasting, the second telecommunications, and third computing. Telecommunication movement started with Mr. Sam Pitroda and others, many communicating almost 600,000 villages in this country. For the first time, telephone was available. Otherwise, we had to go to the telephone booth and put a coin, and those days are over. And those telecommunication facilities have been transformed into multimedia centers, community-based multimedia centers, and those centers today are also further transmitted into and connected to mobile and to the internet, to the semantic web. So besides telecommunications, the meteorology department also does that. Remote sensing also uses disaster management, defense largely, but defense is a more protected environment which the common people cannot really access. And finally, and most importantly, that we talk about is education. And we need a satellite launch vehicle, SLV, which launches a satellite. The Intelsat, the first commercial satellite, was launched globally in 1965, and in this country, the founder head of the ISRO, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, thought of launching a satellite in this country, but it took almost 15 years after his thinking that India, for the first time, launched a satellite. So we first experimented in 1975, which is called a Satellite Instructional Television Experiment, which is a very famous landmark because that's the beginning of the satellite use in this country, the SITE program, the India-US Joint Experiment for Application Technology Satellite ATS-6. And almost 204,000 villages were covered for primary education, family welfare, called those days as population control, and agriculture, and entertainment, because entertainment was also built into that. So this was the first experiment that we had in this country with the American satellite for education and training and development. As you see, the INSAT picture on your screen, in 1983, that India for the first time launched the INSAT, the Indian National Satellite. The picture that you can see, which from the Earth station, there is an uplink to the INSAT satellite, and satellite downlinks to the receiving ends. And receiving ends later on become a DTH platform, direct to home platform, for instance. So when this was launched, the NCERT and CIET, Central Institute of Education Technology, they used for the educational television programs, which are very famous for primary and elementary school, later on secondary, senior secondary, which is called ATB programs. The University Grants Commission used through its Outlet Office Consortium for Educational Communication, which is called Countrywide Classroom Program, CWCR programs. The UGC was a talkback experiment in 1991 for 6 days. There were 8 receiving ends. This was basically for science, arts, and commerce students, and that experiment was very successful. In 1992, the Institution of Electronic Telecommunication Engineers, they experimented in Bhiwani in Haryana for skill development also, and skill development for various industrial houses that was possible for training and retraining through this satellite. In 1983, for the first time, that Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNOU, with the support from ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, experimented for a 10-day teleconferencing where I was also part of that. 525 students participated 5 hours a day for 10 regional centers. And this was basically teleconferencing for providing student support services, or these days as we call learner support. And that was for the first time for distance education. This was a very successful experiment which led to the large-scale deployment of EduSat, the educational satellite, or satellite for education, science and technology, as they would say. 1995, the TDCC of ISRO, the Training and Development Communication Channel of ISRO, used INSAT-2C, which for the first time provided a one-way video and two-way audio. So this conferencing was one-way video that we cannot see those who are participating, but they can see the presenter, but there can be two-way audio. The audio was basically through an STD line, and these days these are toll-free lines, but those days one had to pay for that, which continued and which still continues even today. So basically these were meant for teleteaching, telecounseling, teletraining, and academic seminars, and IGNOU, many of the organizations, including government organizations, they use these. They're teaching at IGNOU campus, as well as the Space Application Center in Ahmedabad of ISRO. They were used as teaching aids. And the studios were established in All India Management Association, NCERT, NIPSID, state governments, various NGOs also. The teaching aids were at Bhopal, Mysore, Gandhinagar in Gujarat, as well as Cuttack in Odisha. In 2001, the Gyandarshan 2 was launched at IGNOU, which is basically a digital tanner for one-way video and two-way audio. So for the first time in 2001, we had a digital channel. 5 transponders of INSAT for telecom, broadcasting, meteorology were installed, deployed rather, and GyanDarshan 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to GD5 were launched, and there was a standby GD6 channel. Training and Development Communication, TDCC, used it. The Mana TV in erstwhile Andhra Pradesh also used it. This is called Mana TV. This is a nationwide teleconferencing based. Net also used, and used also for transmission of data, which today we call as Internet. September 20, 2004, for the first time, a national satellite in this country was launched, and IGNOU was given the responsibility to uplink from the Earth station that is at the IGNOU campus with an extended C-band to uplink the channel, the programs to the satellite, and satellite will transmit, downlink to various receiving ends and later on to DTH, direct to home. So there was 1 national and 5 regional beams through the KU band and 1 national extended C-band. The extended C-band was in the tractor, as we call in a truck. It was loaded and it was standing at IGNOU campus. Even you can find that in IGNOU campus today. There were 2 kinds of two-way audio video. Receive only transmit terminals and the satellite interactive terminals. Receive only, they can only receive, they cannot ask questions, but they can view and listen to the questions being asked and interaction taking place between the sending and receiving ends where satellite interactive terminals are located. So each beam and 1 uplink, almost 100 to 200 downlinks or interactive television sets. IGNOU had almost 125 satellite interactive terminals which still continue. And teleconferencing continues today, 8 hours live and 8 plus 8, 16 hours repeat telecasts that take place which have been recorded. And I'm told that while the teleconferencing is going on, this is also because of the development of the internet and the website and the semantic web especially, that these are being also simultaneously webcast, as well as they're also available as a special agreement between IGNOU and YouTube in the YouTube channels for free of cost. So friends, as you see, this is an educational satellite of the state network. The satellite, this EduSat coverage was also South Asia very clearly with full clarity, and also the part of the East African countries. And how it takes place, that there is an uplink to the satellite. Satellite will also downlink to receive only terminals and satellite interactive terminals. So receive only, that where they can receive, and a large number of students who are physically present, they could also listen to that and listen to and take part in the interaction, but silently take part in the interaction. Actual interaction and question answer would take place in the satellite interactive terminals. So therefore the word interactive, because the interaction takes place, and later on it became two-way audio as well as two-way video. But that two-way video largely is not happening. It still remains as one-way video, I must mention. So the Indira Gandhi National Open University TV broadcasting from May 1991, and we had the establishment of the erstwhile upgrading of the communication division into what is called Electronic Media Production Center. And Electronic Media Production Center took care of the satellite broadcasting in 1991. Which led subsequently to establishment of the Inter-University Consortium for Technology-Enabled Learning and Development, IUC-TEFED, Inter-University Consortium, where I was the founding director, and we started with interactive multimedia and gradually training IGNOU faculty, the distance education faculty in this country, in South Asia, as well as in Commonwealth countries, which was inaugurated by Sir John Daniel, who was the then president of the Commonwealth of Learning, to interactive multimedia, satellite communication, and a little bit of online teaching and learning, the rudimentary form of that as we understand today. And that IUC gradually last year led to conversion of its name to Center for Online Education, where I'm making this presentation. So we started with audio video teleconferencing, audio video cassettes, teleconferencing, subsequently to interactive multimedia, to a little bit of online teaching and learning, and finally to fully online teaching and learning based on the Moodle platform. So there were audio from January 1992, video from 1991. We had a lot of audio conferencing experiments supported by the Commonwealth of Learning, Asian Development Bank, and many others. There were curriculum-based programs. And Gyan Darshan is basically used by IGNOU, UGC, the Consortium for Educational Communication, CEC, NCERT, CIT, State Institute of Education Technology, National Institute of Open Schooling, the Department of Science and Technology of Government of India, IITs, teacher training institutions, technical teacher training institutions, various ministries, the NECO, and so on and so forth. Basically, the Gyan Darshan 1 channel was basically for broadcasting. And in fact, the interactivity is by GD2, which is basically one-way video and two-way audio. And GD3 is the Eklavya channel, which is technology channel for IITs and engineering colleges. GD4 is a BAS channel for higher education. And finally, 2004, that when an ADOSAT was launched in September 2004, it was interactive mode through HTTP, as you understand, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. There were 5 KU bands, 1 KU band national. These 5 KU bands are regional, and 1 KU band national, and 6 extended C-band. And IGNOU operates the extended C-band from its campus itself to uplink to the educational satellite. It started with 1 extended C-band, which increased to 6 extended C-bands. So friends, the application of satellite is basically, as I have written, 3. It could be many more applications that one can think of, the way it is going on here. Teleteaching, for IGNOU, we covered almost 57 regional centers and 4 sub-regional centers, almost 1,300 learning support centers, where we had either the SIT or the ROT, receive-only terminal, or satellite interactive terminal. It was basically used for induction of the students, regional induction by the regional centers, and national induction from IGNOU all over the country for induction of students of various distance learning programs. It is largely used for counseling from the headquarters generally. There are review meetings taking place through that. The orientation of regional center and learning support staff and faculty. Convocation is telecast through these. There is supplementary pedagogic support provided. I stress the word supplementary because I have discussed with you supplementary, complementary, and integrated. There's basically supplementary pedagogic support. There's a live conferencing, and it could also be standalone video lectures. Second function of that is tele-training, the school teacher trainings. For instance, NCERT experimented with 20 locations in Madhya Pradesh, 700 teachers, and later on it increased to thousands and thousands of teachers. Almost 50,000 teachers were trained through tele-training. The DEP, Distance Education Program of the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, DPEP as they call it, the head office was at the National Open University, IGNOU, and the director from the ministry used to be sitting here to operate the functionaries, training of the functionaries of the Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, including the project directors, who are basically the senior bureaucrats all over the country, through a distance training program. That was very successful, and Sarv Shiksha program, entire professional development was done from DPEP, DEP. The third function of satellite, as it is happening today, a major function is e-governance and rural development, linking the Panchayati Raj institutions in this country, as well as bringing in e-governments in the state governments. Though the central government has e-governments much before, but almost all state governments have their e-governance programs. For instance, if I give an example of my state, Odisha state, for instance, that the GramSat is used by the Honorable Chief Minister to link up to the Block Development Office, the BDOs, in the state, almost weekly or fortnightly, to interact with them and to take stock of the implementation of government programs and the problems from the grassroots to the government very successfully. It all started with the 1996, we call it a Jhabua experiment in Madhya Pradesh. Jhabua is a very tribal area in Madhya Pradesh. This is called Jhabua Development Communication Project. The DAMA, Demand Assigned Multiple Access, instead of STD was used for that, because basically you understand STD for telephone communication those days. And these days, because of mobile, the STD question doesn't arise. Like the post office, the STD is almost dead. But those days, DAMA was used at each receiving node. There was a real-time talkback. And TDCC, GramSat pilot project for rural development, was for computers, data, and television. GRASAT, which is basically implemented in the Northeast Satellite Application Center of the Shillong, ISRO, is also using that for e-governance. So friends, there are some issues. Professor Chaudhary and myself, we did an exercise in 2005, which is published in the Commonwealth of Learning book, Educational Media in Asia. We identified, after reviewing the research studies, we found that basically the programs contributed to gain in knowledge and comprehension, means understanding of the students, that there was a positive attitude of teachers and learners towards teleconferencing mode and interactive mode of teaching and learning. And though there were lack of presentation values in the sense that the presentation was extremely linear, and there were hardly any activities within quote, activities taking place from the teaching end, and therefore hardly there were activities at the learning end. Though after learning from these, the teleconferencing program that IGNOU offers, there are a lot more activities these days built into the teleconferencing presentations. There was inadequate interaction, as I said, and management of learning was very difficult. Sometimes I'm told that even the conferencing is going on, but the person at the local receiving end has not opened even the teleconferencing room itself. So these have been the major issues insofar as teleconferencing is concerned. And we concluded, and I quote on page 90 that we mentioned in that book, that teleconferencing is economically and technically feasible and can serve as an important educational tool, provided, we say provided, the snacks in the system are worked out and worked out well. So friends, this is all about teleconferencing. To conclude, that there have been other issues also, presentation and content design, because teleconferencing would need a different kind of content design than what is a print design and what is a classroom teaching learning design through lecturing. Here, a lot more design has to be worked out along with the course materials that are being provided and audio video that are being provided, and they have to be made basically interactive, because this is an interactive channel and therefore a lot more activities need to be built into. So therefore interactivity is the major concern insofar as teleconferencing is concerned, which is generally not happening. Some disciplines, some faculty, some colleagues are doing it, and some at the college university level, they're also doing it. But the way the lecturing is going on, almost teleconferencing is resulting in lecturing, for instance. And there is lack of participation, and there are considerable technical issues. So friends, thank you very much, and I have come to the conclusion of the program. Basically, we touched up on the satellite, different kinds of satellite, and the satellite application in education, training, and rural development, and e-governance, and especially in distance education, which is being used vis-a-vis the national satellite called EduSat, the education satellite. So, and which is gradually being linked to webcasting, to mobile handset that you have at your hand, which converges, in fact, broadcasting, telecommunications, and computing, all the three technology developments in one handset called the mobile phone. It is mobile, therefore called mobile, otherwise it is handset. So, and finally, that the semantic web is also being linked to teleconferencing. While teleconferencing is going on, it is directly webcast as well as available on the YouTube as an open source resource, open education resource, rather, for wider use, free of cost for students and teachers and many others internationally, globally. So thank you very much, friends.